Coming up on the Fish Hunt Forever podcast.
Wild duck eggs that are hit by farming and stuff in the spring in our area. And it licenses me to salvage those eggs.
Open water spots are tracking east of Birchdale already.
In captivity, I think I only lost maybe like 4 ducklings last year and only 2 eggs, and those were cracked eggs.
This is the Fish Hunt Forever podcast, formerly Sporting Journal Radio, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. That's right. Welcome to the show. I'm Bret Amundsen along with Dan Amundsen. And who is that, David?
It is.
David Eckhart, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. A lot to get to. Actually, David,
he's sitting on that cushion now, so look.
I know, I'm way higher.
Hang on.
Yeah, if you could just something adjust that for me, Dan, that'd be great.
Why don't you just slouch down?
So, yeah, David's chair broke the other day because I was using it, and I broke it. So we put David on an old kitchen table chair, which is not very
uncomfortable chair.
And so then he added a cushion to it. Now he's too tall for the camera. So there we go. Well, yeah, David,
we're set now.
You introduced me to somebody or told me about somebody a couple of years ago, and yep. I thought it was kind of a neat story. I didn't realize how tied in to what she does until today. But Madison Grimm is going to join us later in the show, and we'll explain all of that and what that means coming up later in the show. But she has Second Chance Flight, where she's essentially rescuing waterfowl when farmers are out there, when you're out. Give me a situation where you might come into around a nest.
Cutting hay or, doing tillage. If it's late enough and the birds have already nested, you could flush up a nesting hen and find the eggs. So,
how often when you're out there have you come across waterfowl or pheasant nests for that matter?
Personally, a couple times, not very often, but it's more, in the grass where you'd find them, and I'm, plowing corn stalks and stuff like that. I have found a couple mallard nests, and I go around them.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty amazing. So because of that, Madison has decided to start rescuing those eggs and then raising them, hatching them, raising them, and then releasing them into the wild. And not only did she get a license federally here in the United States to do it, there's only 2 of those licenses in the entire United States, and she got one. She's in eastern South Dakota. And then, but she also went to the Capitol in South Dakota and had a new bill signed into law that allows her to also go out there and rescue other game bird eggs. So pheasants, turkeys, things like that. So, or other wild bird eggs, apparently. So that's way cool, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty neat story. So we're going to hear Madison's story coming up later in the show. Also, Joe Henry will join us for a report on Lake of the Woods. And we're going to talk a little bit of spring river fishing up on the Rainy, because we're just a couple of weeks away from the SGR 500, and we'll tell you more about that. But first, Dan, who are the sponsors this week on the show?
Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a trip to Lake of the Woods at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt. See private land boundaries, offline maps, and more. Take 20% off a new membership with code SJR20. Haybill Heights Campground and Resort. Fish Devil's Lake at Haybill Heights. Learn more at haybellheights.com. Riverbend Resort. Put yourself in the heart of the fish migration at the Rainy River in Lake of the Woods with Riverbend Resort. And Prairie Sportsman. You can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. We got a new episode coming up this week.
Should we show people a little sneak peek of that right now?
Right there. Shoot him, John.
Coming up on the next Prairie Sportsman, we go duck hunting with John Creasel, and here is inspirational story.
I was wounded near Fallujah, Iraq. I promised to not waste this second chance at life.
Then we visit Kandiyohi County for the 42nd annual Prairie Pothole Day. And Nicole Zempel teaches us how to identify a hedgehog mushroom.
This one has what's called teeth.
It's going to be a good one. You'll be able to see it Sunday night at 7:30 on Pioneer PBS or Sunday at noon on the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. Dan, how excited were you to go hunt with Creasel?
He's been a part of my Friday morning routine for, the better part of 15, 16 years. So it's kind of cool to take a guy like that duck hunting, put his radio experience aside, just what he's done for our country, for us.
American hero.
A true hero. And cool dude, great story. It's awesome that he loves to share it, and that we get to share duck blind with him and have a new friend.
such a cool experience. And I don't remember. I think we were probably just sitting here like this, and I think he looked over at me and said, "We should see if Creasel wants to go."
Yeah, he was probably talking about deer hunting or something. And they don't talk a lot of hunting on that morning show, and so they start talking about hunting. I'm like, he hunts? Well, heck, we hunt. So why don't we take him hunting and make a TV show out of it? So we did.
It was cool, and I wish we could have had more time with him. He basically drove out, met up with us. We put him in the blind. We shot some mallards, and then he had to take off.
They had like a Maroon 5 concert or something.
Is that what it was?
I think so. So we'll never.
He should have skipped
We'll
that.
never let him. He was meeting up with friends, but we'll never let him hear the end of that he skipped out on another day of duck hunting and go to Maroon 5.
Yeah. Where were you that day, David?
I think I was farming. I was supposed to come with, but...
Would you have rather been farming or at Maroon 5?
Would I have rather been duck hunting?
No, that's not
farming?
the question I asked. Did you listen to the question
farming.
I just asked you?
Farming.
Okay.
Over Maroon 5.
It's too bad, too, because it was a good morning. We were with Tony Crowdy from Mid-Migration Outfitters. Thank you, Tony. And a local landowner let us go out there and do some hunting at one of his ponds, so thank you. And but I just wanted Creasel to shoot some ducks. I'm sure Tony wanted us all to bang away to try to put a nice little stack of birds down on the ground, but I wanted Creasel to shoot, so he had first crack, and then the second flock came in. I put my gun up, the gun went click. So for the rest of the morning, I had my 12 gauge just torn apart in the blind in the dark, trying to figure out what's going on with that. Dan was filming. I don't think you shot at all.
No, well, John was using my gun, so
that's right.
I couldn't hunt.
That's right. And then Tony, I don't know if Tony shot much. He was doing a lot of calling and doing a lot of other work. And we had Kyle Sachs with too, and I know he shot a couple of ducks. So, but it was fun. Creasel shot the first duck he shot at. Then I think he might have missed a couple after that. And he's like, I liked my percentages at the beginning there.
Started out good.
Yeah. But just hearing some of the stories that he shared with us, we put into the show. We couldn't share them all. Obviously, we didn't have enough time. But, just being able to talk to a guy with what he's gone through and just what the attitude that he has and the outlook that he has on life and the inspiration that he is for people. He's just an amazing human being in general. And I want to thank him for coming out and letting us bring him out duck hunting and feature him on the show. So watch for that new Prairie Sportsman episode coming out Sunday on Pioneer PBS, on a PBS station near you, or on the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. All right, Dan, let's do some headlines. All right, these are brought to you by Space Trailers. This Red Wing-based trailer company has created something unique. It's a 600-pound trailer that you can basically move around by hand, but you can store 1,000 pounds in it. And then if you don't have a lot of storage space to store your trailer, you can actually... It's made to just tip up on its back. You can actually take the tongue off of it if you want to. But that lid that's on there, 5 bolts, you can take that right off. There's space bars on top of that lid. You can put 225 pounds up on top of there. I know a lot of people put tents up on top of their trailers. So when they go camping, they throw all their stuff in that trailer. And when they get to places, they can throw a tent right up on top and set up and camp like that. If you want to find out more about them, go to spacetrailers.com. All right, well, it's actually kind of old news. This must have come out right after we put out last week's podcast. I'm surprised we didn't talk about it, but Red Lake has new limits. Anglers fishing on Upper Red Lake during the 2026 open water season that starts May 9th will have a 5 walleye possession limit with only 1 walleye longer than 17 inches. Now, this is the same as last year. So what I think is interesting about this, and if you look at the comments that we're getting on social media, is you can tell that there's the crowd out there that wants to see a 4-fish statewide limit for Minnesota. And then something like this comes out and the DNR says, oh, we're going to do a 5-fish limit on one of the biggest walleye fishing lakes in the state of Minnesota. And what that tells you is just what that fluctuating population of fish does and can do and what it takes to manage a fishery like that, and giving the DNR the ability to change limits as lakes need. We've got lakes around us that have 4-fish limits already. We have some lakes around us that have 6-fish limits. If you can manage that lake specifically without having to have this blanket regulation across the entire state, then to me, I think that's what the DNR should continue to do. So I just think it's interesting when you see DNR put a reg out like that says, oh, we're going to do 5 walleyes when half this, people are talking about this entire regulation change right now. That doesn't seem necessary. Also, there was something that came out, and actually when we're recording this on Wednesday, March 18th. This was when it was going to get looked at, but there was HB 3938. So on March 18th, the House Commerce, Finance, and Policy Committee was scheduled to hear this. It was a key piece of Governor Walz's 2026 gun violence prevention package, which would mandate that every firearm owner in Minnesota carry at least $100,000 in liability insurance. If you cannot prove that you have this coverage, you could face criminal penalties, including fines and potential misdemeanor charges. I heard about this from Sportsman's Alliance. I got an email. I'm signed up for email alerts from them. There's one thing that they do, which is fantastic. You can actually go on their website and click on the state of Minnesota, or if you're in North Dakota or South Dakota, you can click on your state, and they will tell you what bills are going through the legislature that pertain to your interests, such as the outdoors, firearm ownership, things like that. So I got the email about it, so I shipped off. They made it real simple for me where I could basically just put my information in and hit send, and my email saying I oppose this went out to like 15 representatives or something like that. And one of them got back to me just as we were starting to record and said that they received so many responses about this that they pulled the bill from being heard today. So for all of you out there that spoke up and said you oppose this bill, it worked. And that's the way our politics should work. That's the way it should be. So I just unplugged my headphones.
Yeah.
So congratulations, because that would have been bad news. And in like the Sportsman's Line said, this is just another way to create another barrier for people to get into the outdoors by creating another cost and a headache by doing something like that. So I think that's pretty. Yes, that is a win. Where are we at for time here, Dan? Should we break or are we good? We should probably break, huh?
Sure.
All right, I made a mistake that I'm going to own up to. I'll tell you about it when we come back.
It doesn't get much better than fresh perch and fresh walleye. If you're looking for an exciting winter fishing destination, come to Devils Lake, North Dakota. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort is on the ice with a fleet of snow bears, keeping you mobile and warm so you can stay on the roaming schools of fish. Haybale Heights on the east end of Devils Lake has knowledgeable guides, comfortable cabins, and their own lake access, making your trip as successful and stress-free as possible. To book your trip, go to haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com.
All right, so I kind of made a little mistake, fellas. I accidentally agreed to be the MC for 2 different Pheasants Forever banquets that are on the same night.
I was going to say, are they the same night?
Whoops. I thought it was 2 different people from the same chapter that reached out to me, because I think one was on Snapchat or something. One was on Messenger. I can't remember, but I thought it was 2 different people. I'm like, oh yeah, yep, you bet. No problem. What time do I need to be there? And all of a sudden one guy said, yeah, this, come in this door at this building. I'm like, oh, that's not the
different building.
You know the thing.
Where I thought I was going.
Yeah. So I had it ended up being the same day as the Minfish. Or I'm sorry, it was the same day as the DNR Fisheries Summit. So there's a DNR Fisheries Summit that all the people that are on the tech work groups go to. They meet and up in Brainerd. Then there's also a Minfish Summit that we'll be going to. But these banquets ended up being the same day as that Fisheries Summit. So I had to call them both and be like, hey, I apologize, but I can't MC either one of them. So I apologize about that. So
big success.
Yeah. It is a big success, Dan?
Not your scheduling.
The SJR 500. And that's why we put it on the schedule so far in advance.
How many banquets are you emceeing those days?
Just the prize ceremonies for the SJR 500.
Well, actually, we decided you're not doing that either.
Oh, all right. So I can just fish the whole time then. That sounds good to me. April 7th and 8th, Rainy River, Riverbend Resort. Actually, April 6th, the Monday night, as when we'll be starting the festivities and giving away some prizes. We'll be doing a non-mandatory rules meeting for anybody that wants to come and be a part of it. While you're there, might as well pick up one of these, because we're going to be selling these commemorative mugs for $30. And then once you buy one of those, you bring it up to whoever's behind the bar there at Riverbend and say, I will take a $3.50 Busch Light, please. That's a 20-ounce Busch Light for $3.50. It's a heck of a deal. And then we'll also be selling Fish Hunt Forever hats while we're up there. And if you don't have one, I'm going to tell you why you should get one, because we're going to do contingency prizes. And if you catch the biggest fish in the walleye category or the biggest fish in the sturgeon category, and you're wearing Fish Hunt Forever gear that we can see in your winning picture, we're going to throw in an extra $150 cash. And then if it's a state record fish, we'll give you another extra $150. So, oh, the old fish donkey. I thought you were making a poke at me there. And the fish donkey.
Well, fish registered.
No, okay, right there. The SJR 500 presented by Ray Sport and Marine. Also prizes from Heavy Hauler that will be giving away those gear boxes, which are awesome. We've got 50 bags of Chef Roberts. So the first 50 people that come in and show us that they're registered for the tournament, we'll give you a free bag of gourmet breading for your fish from Chef Roberts. We'll have Onyx gear, Onyx fish gear, some Onyx Elite memberships, and more. So join us April 7th and 8th at Riverbend Resort on the Rainy River. I wanted to mention one thing. I did see a message come out the other day from the Deer Classic. And a lot of people were a little confused why there wasn't a Deer Classic this year in Shakopee, and I was too, because that's one of my favorite sports shows to do every year. It's at a great location. I see a lot of cool people. I don't do a lot of sports shows anymore, so I really enjoy doing that one. We do a meet and greet where people can come up and say hi while we're there too. They did post. It was a scheduling. I'm not the only one that has problems with schedules and calendars. There was a scheduling conflict, and the Deer Classic, they posted about it that they will be back next year, to which somebody responded, "You never should have moved it from the state fairgrounds." Did you guys ever go when it was at the state fair?
No.
Once, I think.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I mean, the fairgrounds it's kind of a classic historic location or whatever, but
were they selling corn dogs?
Probably.
Well, then it should go back to the.
We'll move it back to the state fair.
They've got corn dogs and chocolate milk.
The beauty of Canterbury Park and Shakopee is free parking right there, right in front. It's easy to get to. Like, you don't have to drive through downtown. It's right on the edge. We're on the west side of the metro, so it's easy for us, of course, to get in and out. But even anybody, 494 to 169, whatever, down into Shakopee, it's pretty easy to get there. So Deer Classic should be back next year. All right, guys. Darren Troseth posted about it, so I thought this might make a good topic for us. But what do you guys think will happen before the Minnesota releases their electronic licensing app? What do you think we'll see happen before that does?
There will be a championship of some sort, professional championship for the major four sports teams. I don't know who it'll be. It could be.
I think mine applies to both of those, which is pigs fly.
Mm.
Well, yeah,
I'll go a step further and say the Vikings will win a Super Bowl.
No, don't get ahead of yourself.
That's, I think, how long it's going to be.
They just signed as quarterback. They signed a toddler to play quarterback.
Kyle Murray, I heard. Yeah.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Okay, Mark Rosen.
Yeah. I was wondering if you knew the bit. Yeah. I don't know. I asked ChatGPT, your favorite, Dan.
Oh, what does that lady have to say?
What will happen before this is the top reasons. I was going to do a top 10, but there aren't enough good ones.
Because ChatGPT's that dumb. Yeah. I could sit here and come up with 10 things.
Man, top 10 things that'll happen before the Minnesota DNR releases their electronic licensing app. My auger will start on the first pull every time.
Who uses a gas auger anymore?
Yeah, I didn't say these were great. The Vikings will win a Super Bowl. That's where I got that one.
Real creative.
And number 3.
Outsourcing.
I'll limit out on walleyes using a banana for bait. That is something that'll happen before the Minnesota DNR releases the electronic licensing.
That YouTube video idea right now.
Yeah.
They'll stock the lakes with pre-filleted fish.
Gross.
Okay. Did you see? I saw there's these guys that spearfish on Lake Michigan, and I think they might have been on Huron on this video, but I saw it today on Facebook or Instagram. I don't remember, but they put up a reel. They speared a lake trout, and then they brought it up on the boat, and was it ceviche? No. What do they call eating raw fish?
Sushi.
It's not sushi though. But
ceviche is pretty much raw.
Yeah, but no, what they did is he just sliced up a couple of pieces of lake trout and then poured soy sauce on it. Sashimi?
Yeah.
Is that what sashimi? Whatever it is. That's what they did. And two of them ate a couple pieces of lake trout, and I'm like, oh, bold move.
Risky.
Yeah. And I read the comments and it was like, Have fun with your tapeworms.
Yeah,
bud.
no kidding.
Like just about every single comment was about tapeworms and parasites. And I'm sorry. I know people will eat salmon like that out of the ocean raw or whatever, but not. That's a no for me, Bob.
No, thank you.
All right, another thing that'll happen, ladies and gentlemen, before the DNR releases their electronic licensing system, deer will start checking themselves at registration stations. This is from ChatGPT.
Nailed it.
Ice will be 12 inches thick in July.
I thought we were going a different direction there for a second.
What else will happen? My trail cam will finally take a picture of Bigfoot holding a fishing license. Okay.
All right.
Well, how is he
oddly specific?
How can he buy it if the electronic licensing
paper
system?
license.
He'll get a paper copy.
Do you think? Think he has a driver's license though? Because you need one of those to buy a license in this stupid state.
It's true.
Yeah, he could vote, but he can't buy a fishing license.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what else will happen.
I love it.
A muskie will apologize for not biting.
That'd be pretty polite, actually.
Well, I'll go back to paper maps and actually like it.
I love paper maps. You ever just sit down with a couple paper maps and just stare at them for a couple hours?
Nope.
It's been, I used to.
I do that all the time still.
They have this thing called OnX now where I can just.
Well, I do that too. I would love looking at maps.
Do you like looking at trains too?
No. just fire trucks.
All right, what else will happen before the DNR releases their electronic licensing system?
Wow, David.
They'll train loons to enforce boating regulations. Mosquitoes will form a union and require permits.
That's when you get pulled over.
I'll stop complaining about wind while I'm fishing. No, that'll never stop. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the number one thing that'll happen before the Minnesota DNR releases their electronic licensing system, the DNR will release an app for downloading more forms.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go fishing anymore.
All right, we got a very cool story. Madison Grimm has something called Second Chance Flight. It's a nonprofit organization that rescues duck eggs. A lot of it is a nest that's been in a field where a farmer's been working, and they're about to work the field. They're like, these eggs gotta go. She'll come and rescue them, hatch them, raise them, and release them back into the wild. She'll tell us her story next. And Joe Henry will join us with the Lake of the Woods Fishing Report, all coming up later in the show. We've teamed up at the River Bend. We've got this underwater camera on the Migration Highway. Let's see what the walleyes are up to today and what they're doing. It's live looking. There it is. There's the billboard.
Whoa, stay on the road.
Oh, look, they're chasing emerald shiners around.
That one had a dance party.
Nice.
Stay on the, keep her in between.
All right, there it is. We are excited to be up at Riverbend Resort on the Migration Highway as these walleyes chase emerald shiners into the rainy river. Join us April 7th and 8th for the SGR 500 presented by Ray's Sport and Marine. All the details at fishhuntforever.com. Sick of eating tag soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal wind for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20. All right, now we're going to go over to South Dakota to talk to Madison Grimm from Second Chance Flight. Madison, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
I think I first heard about you from David, actually. I think you told me about it. Was that like last year or
2 years ago?
2 years ago?
Yeah.
And where did you hear about her?
From my dad. He found a nest of gadwall eggs that his dog found, so he brought the eggs over to Madison, and she hatched them out.
Oh, he did? Oh, really? Okay, that's cool. So I want to have her explain what Second Chance Flight was. I didn't realize we'd have such a perfect story to go with it. But basically, I mean, that story, that's something you heard a lot of, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think that was actually my first nest that I got called about, so that was pretty exciting.
Cool.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. So there's a documentary, and they talk about the first ducklings and the first eggs in that documentary. Are those the ones that you're talking about right now?
Yep, the gadwall eggs. I think those are the same ones.
Huh.
So, yeah, I think there's like 13 of them.
All right, well,
Yeah,
we'll get into
We'll
get into that documentary a little bit more in a second, but just explain to everybody what Second Chance Flight is, what that is exactly.
So it's essentially a program that I just started last year, but it is fully federally licensed to take wild duck eggs that are hit by farming and stuff in the spring in our area, and it licenses me to salvage those eggs and then incubate, hatch, raise, and release them back into the wild when they're about 6 to 8 weeks old. And as far as I know, I'm the only other program that's doing California, and that's the only other one I know of. So it's kind of a novel, thing.
Yeah. Did you say in California was the other one?
Yep. That's the only other one.
So I'm sure that was quite the process, first of all. But what made you want to do this?
Well, so I have an aviary, and that's, captive wild waterfowl. And I started that about 6 years ago, maybe now. And right after I started it, a lot of the people in our area were excited to come see it because it's really cool to see, all these wild waterfowl up close. They're not afraid of you at all. They're in full plumage. They're beautiful. And so a number of friends we have, a lot of them are farmers, ended up coming to see the aviary. And they knew I was raising these birds. I had incubators, that kind of thing. And anyway, I guess that kind of made them think about it. But the following spring, I started getting phone calls from these people about nests they were hitting when they were farming. And they were calling to see if I could take the duck eggs, A lot of them were like, I just killed the hen. She flew up right into the mower. There's a whole nest of eggs here. He's like, they're not going to obviously make it. Can you take them? And I had to tell him I couldn't because it's illegal. And I didn't want to get in trouble. No one wants to get in trouble taking something like that, even if it's the right thing to do in the moment. And so I had to just tell him I couldn't, even though it kind of made me think, I guess this is a big issue here. It's obviously happening, enough of them getting a number of phone calls about it. It was kind of unfortunate to hear. The one that really made me, I think, kind of pursue this was I got a phone call from a friend of ours real close here, and he was out spraying, it must have been like a soybean field, and there was a disker coming right behind him to kind of work it. And he said he flushed a hen pintail, and he got out and looked, and on the ground there was this little depression, just this perfect little nest, and in it there were like 10 eggs, and he said they were all pipped, which is, where the duckling cracks through the shell. And he said they're hatching. He said they're peeping. He said, they're minutes away from all being out. And he said, but they're also minutes away from being hit by this disker. And he's like, can you take them and just raise them and maybe let them go or something? And I had to tell him I couldn't, even though they're that close, it's just something I don't want to get in trouble with, I told him maybe you could hatch them and raise them if you really want to. But I told him it's legal. And he ended up, I don't know if he was able to save them, but it was just unfortunate, these little pintail ducklings so close to actually making it and, just getting kind of destroyed before their life begins. So that was the one that really made me kind of pursue, wanting to start something like this.
It's great. Like it is. And what you said about people wanting to come over and see the waterfowl, like ducks are some of the coolest birds out there, I think, and all the different colors.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely some of my favorite.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to talk about where your love of waterfowl and wildlife came from, and probably why you have that aviary too. It's because you and your father, both artists.
Yep. Yeah, I started it after I won the Junior Duck Stamp Contest for the second time. And it was in 2020, which was actually really unfortunate because it was at the very beginning of the year. I was not aware the whole rest of the year was going to kind of be just shut down. So there was no traveling, no speeches, none of the usual shows, that kind of thing. So I asked my dad, I kind of had this like random idea. I said, if I took the prize money that I won for this, would you help me build this aviary? And I was not expecting him to go for that because it sounded like a lot of work. And I don't know, I just didn't think he'd be into that idea. But apparently he had always secretly wanted to have an aviary, which helped my argument a lot. So we ended up building this. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a lot of work, but it's just so cool to go out there and have just like over 100 wild ducks. I think I have like 18 different species just right in the yard, and they're all friendly, and I can just take pictures of them whenever we want for reference. So.
It's pretty neat. You know, I've heard of taxidermists having aviaries, so they have species that they can reference and take pictures of for their taxidermy work. But also as an artist, your dad was the youngest person to win the federal duck stamp in 1999, right? And then you've won the junior 3 times, which is more than anybody else.
I was also the youngest to ever win it. So it's kind of funny because I'm like paralleling my dad at the moment. We've each won our respective contests 3 times. And we were also both the youngest to win our respective contests. And the first time I won and the second time he won, it was with the same species of duck even.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
It's really funny. So I told him he's now apparently not allowed to win anymore, though, because I'm not eligible to enter the junior anymore. So
that's pretty neat. So you grew up in this type of family where you're appreciating the outdoors and appreciating wildlife.
Yeah, I've been involved in it as long as I can remember. My first word was duck, so I feel like if that wasn't a good precursor, I don't know. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I've been involved in it my whole life. I love hunting, fishing, painting the birds, and now rescuing and raising them. My whole life revolves around ducks in some way.
So I have lots of questions with Second Chance Flight. So we watched, Dan and I watched a documentary today. Pretty neat to have a documentary, first of all, and just to hear about some of the things that you've done, the fact that you are just one of 2 people in the United States that has a permit to do something like this. And then I just saw something, I think I saw it on Facebook, HB 1265 just got signed into law. Is that right?
Yep. Just on the 12th, I think was that. So that was pretty exciting to have that victory.
Yeah. Explain what that is and what the process was like getting that done.
So HB 1265 is it's a bill that now amends state statute to allow the salvage of certain bird eggs. So originally, the way the statute was written, it kind of maybe inadvertently also prohibited any sort of taking, really anything involving any bird eggs was illegal. So, obviously destroying, that kind of thing. But also it would cover, salvaging, rescuing, any of that. So it pretty much just blocked me from doing anything with bird eggs, which was unfortunate because that's kind of what the whole program is. So it first became an issue last year when I tried to get licensed to be able to rescue game bird eggs. So pheasants, turkeys, grouse, those kind of things. Because I was anticipating after getting the federal permit for the waterfowl that, a lot of farmers are going to hit, game bird nests and not know the difference in the eggs. And I'm going to get phone calls from farmers saying they have eggs for me. I'll go get them and they'll be pheasant eggs or something. And at the time, I was not able to take those because of this issue. So even last year, I had it a little bit, but it was too late to introduce any kind of legislation. So I went to Game Fish and Parks, talked to them about it quite a bit, and they kind of encouraged me to look into changing the law because there was no way they could make a permit for it, with that in place. So this year we worked with our state representative, Dylan Jordan, and we were able to draft and present this bill. And so I drove to Pierre a number of times. We testified before the House committee, the Senate committee. We watched the House floor vote on our TV, which is kind of fun. But it's been kind of a long journey. But kind of seeing it finally come together has been really cool. And I had a ton of support with it. So I even got a lot of letters in support. I had a petition with signatures on it. I think I had maybe almost 400 signatures. And then I had over 100 personal letters. So just kind of having that was really neat. And even from a number of organizations like Ducks Unlimited, the California Waterfowl Association, which runs the program there. And then a lot of people with the organizations, kind of on their personal behalf. So
No, that's great.
It was really exciting.
I bet. I love South Dakota. Another reason. That's great. Yeah. And for you being, at a pretty young age yet to be able to go through that whole political process, I mean, that's quite the experience in itself.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot. It was a lot of experience, kind of even just learning how it all works. I didn't really, I guess, know about it much or think about it until you're like involved in it. Yeah. So doing that was really cool. I met a lot of great people, and yeah.
I think that's why you see a lot of politicians that just stay politicians, because nobody else wants to learn how all that stuff works and, be in politics all that much. You mentioned one thing too in that documentary. There was a point made about farmers not being the enemy, which I thought was a great point to make.
Don't listen, David. You are the enemy.
Yeah, we make fun of David and make fun of farmers all the time. But and farmers get a bad rap when it comes to conservation, things like this, when a lot of them are doing a lot of great things out there. And then hunters, of course, get a bad rap because they're out there killing stuff. But when you look at guys like us, we all waterfowl hunt, love it, probably our favorite thing to do out of all the things. I mean, there's other things that are right up there near the top too, but waterfowl is probably my favorite ever since I was a kid. But and you even talked about rescuing a swan, and the success story on trumpeter swans is amazing. I love it, but we have so many swans right now. Like, we could just...
I actually lined that one up too.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. My buddy found it on the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And he was sending snaps, and I'm like, I showed Dad, and I was like, you should probably get a hold of Madison. So yeah, I got that one all lined up too.
You're kidding. I had no idea. Like, I watched it in the documentary and I'm like, okay, swans. But then when you hear about it, like the parents of the cygnet or whatever got hit by the train, and then it was just there with its parents standing on the railroad tracks. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I was getting snaps.
For the guy.
My buddy had it in his work truck. I'm like, where'd you get a swan? He's like, what? He's like, what do I do with it? I was like, I think I can help.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow. That's great. That's a cool story. And so and I want to talk about, you've released a lot of the, David's dad's gadwall, and now this one, you've since released them. And I want to ask you, we'll do it a little bit later, but I want to ask you if you have any way of knowing how those birds are doing, or if you monitor them for a while. But that, talk about dealing, swans have this reputation of being mean to other waterfowl and taking over a slough when they're nesting and whatever. You had this aviary with all these other ducks and ducklings in it, and you bring this swan. How did they get along in there?
So the swan actually it was really little when I got it, which was kind of cool because it's just the cutest little thing. And it grew very fast, but it was just all alone. And I felt bad for it because raising single waterfowl a lot of the time does not, especially smarter birds like geese and swans. And so I was really hoping I could maybe have something to put in with it. And I actually got a rescue gosling shortly after, and I tried really hard to get them to be together so they could kind of be friends a little bit, have some sort of, other bird interaction. And the goose would attack the swan, and it was so sad. And it wasn't bigger than it. It was smaller. And I was like, why are they so mean? Anyway, so I ended up putting it in the mallard duckling, which actually worked really well. I was worried. I'm like, if it grabbed one of these, it could hurt it pretty fast. But it loved its little duckling friend. It was so cute. And it did great with them up until the ducklings were released. And then I had some other ducklings I let it be in with kind of, until it was old enough to be eventually let go. So it actually worked well. I think it was a female, and I think that helped because it ended up being, not so territorial and everything. And it was just kind of a really cool bird to raise. I had not really raised swans in captivity yet. I'd raised geese, which, are similar enough. But, it was kind of a cool experience, especially with how fast it grew. Big bird.
Yeah. I mean, they're huge. I mean, trumpeter, that's the biggest waterfowl out there. So what's the process like? And, when it comes to having that permit or having the license, are there regulations you have to follow? Do you have to sex the birds? Do you have to release them at a certain age? What do you have rules you have to follow when you do this?
So the federal permit has a number of kind of regulations, rules, if you will. And it doesn't really have anything about like a release age. Any birds that are like able to be released and survive are supposed to be released. But if I were to get in like an injured bird, something that couldn't actually be released, it could be like held over or transferred to another facility kind of thing. There's nothing I can do as far as marking the birds. So I really want to be able to band them, which is going to be another permit, another process, of course. But working on that, and that'll be really cool because then I can kind of do my own documenting as far as that. Really, the only thing with the federal permit is I have to kind of report. So it basically just tells them how many birds I took in, what species, how many were released, how many didn't make it, that kind of thing. I do that for both of the permits every fall.
Yeah, so talk about that. Like, what kind of success rates in captivity have you seen?
Mine was really high, maybe partially because I've raised a lot of birds, especially with the aviary. So I have basically 6 years of experience hatching wild waterfowl, including a lot of the harder species, like goldeneye, hood mergansers, canvasbacks. It kind of makes the puddle ducks a walk in the park, so to speak. It was not really that difficult. I don't know what it would be like, I guess, after they're let go. The California one does band their fowl, and their success rates are as high with the rescued birds as with just wild raised birds. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I'm sure it would be probably about the same for mine. Banding them will be great, just kind of to have that, concrete data, though. So I'm working on that. But in captivity, I think I only lost maybe like 4 ducklings last year and only 2 eggs, and those were cracked eggs. They'd already been hit by machinery. So
they can band them in California. Is that because California waterfowl does, like Brian Huber over there? Those guys already have banding.
He's a little bit banded. Yeah.
So
and I'm working, but
What's that?
I'll have to get my own permit for that. I'm working on that. I'll have to get my own permit. So
I don't know why they wouldn't give you one.
Yeah.
I mean, it would just make sense. I mean, if a guy's selling
that's
Argos,
why they wouldn't, because it's the government and it makes sense.
It would be interesting to see how far or where they end up too.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
You have to, because that was my first question when I started watching the documentary. I'm like, she must be able to band these things to track them a little bit, and then you mentioned in there that you can't. Did you get a chance then? Where you released these birds, were you able to go back and be like, oh yeah, that's the gadwall or that's the swan? I know you released the swan with some other swans. Have you been able to check on them, or were you able to check on them at all?
The swan, I haven't been able to go back and see it. I have a friend that lives nearby, though, and she said she was pretty sure she saw it out there because it was the only younger-looking one. So that was kind of cool. The ducks, it's just kind of hard to know because I'm letting them go on private wetlands, and, they already have probably a lot of other ducks on them. That was kind of what was helping me pick them, is if they already had birds on them. And so we'd drive by, and we'd see younger birds out there, which quite possibly were the same ones. But, it's just hard to know, for sure.
You didn't hear any of them go, Madison, feed me. That's
no, not quite.
So how long did you have them? Because that's one thing that I'd worry about right away, is that all of a sudden these ducks would get too reliant on some sort of human interaction or humans feeding them or whatever. How do you think they'll take to living in the wild then?
Well, I keep them for about 6 to 8 weeks, and I release them just before they can fly, which is what the California one does, and it is kind of for the purpose of they're not just going to fly and scatter when you let them go, because ducks love to do that. And so if they can't quite fly yet, they stay in a group way better. They learn to fly kind of together at the same time, just like freaking out or excited, that they're free, essentially. So that's been working pretty well, I think. But as far as like imprinting, ducks really just don't have an issue with that. If you were raising like raptors or like even the swan, I was a little bit worried about it because they're smarter birds. But the ducks just revert to natural instincts so fast. Like even in my aviary, if I like purposefully imprint some birds, like, oh, this will be cool, I'll take this bird to a show. I've done that before. And so I'll raise, like a Drake pintail duckling. I'll keep them kind of separate, try and get them used to people, maybe even keep them in the house a little bit because it makes them really friendly generally, which is cool to show people. So I'll try stuff like that. And once they go out into the aviary with the other birds, they just like revert to natural instincts so fast. They don't want to be touched, be handled. They don't want to come up to you for food. They just keep their distance generally. So even in there, I mean, in the wild, even more so, especially once you get around wild birds, they just forget about people pretty fast.
They don't want to be embarrassed in front of their friends. Like,
yeah. I don't know. So. I
wanted to ask you about pheasant eggs too. That was on my list, and you mentioned it earlier a little bit because I could see a farmer going, "Hey, I got a nest here. Either A, I don't know what it is, or it ends up being a pheasant nest or turkeys or whatever the case may be." Have you rescued some pheasants and other game birds as well? Or did this is with this new law now, I suppose you weren't able to before?
Yeah, so I'll be able to this year. I'll be able to take pheasants, grouse, turkeys, really kind of all the game birds that are state managed huntable birds. So, I mean, I guess that would even involve maybe like crows and stuff. I don't know totally. Pretty much anything that would be encountered in farm fields, I should be fine to take now. So I'm anticipating, obviously, that getting a lot more birds this year, which will be kind of cool. And I can ban the pheasants because, they're not migratory. So any rescued game birds will be banded.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's pretty neat.
I got the band, so they should be coming soon, hopefully.
All right, David, tell your dad. Go find a pheasant nest.
Find some pheasant. I might try and ban only the roosters because the hens obviously won't be encountered really, but
right.
Yeah, that goes. So
that's this stuff fascinates me. I think this is really cool. It's really amazing that you're doing this. Good for you. And I had no, I knew you told me about her, but I didn't know that you were that tied into how she got started.
Look at you, big old conservationist, you, David.
Yeah, even a farmer, even. What the heck? That's hilarious. So the gadwall then, you had two gadwall from that then? Were there others that didn't survive, or tell me that story?
No, I think all 13 hatched and made it. So that was pretty cool.
They did.
They were obviously some of the first ones. So I think they were some of the first ones I hatched. There were also some mallards that were right around the same time. And those ended up being raised mostly together. Yeah, as far as all the rescued eggs and stuff, pretty much all of them made it. So I had a couple ducklings from one of the other groups. I think there may be blue-winged teal that didn't make it. I think it was after a big rain we had. And sometimes they don't handle that real well, especially if they're young still. So, yeah, I think that was kind of the only thing. But most of the other ones did really good. So
if you get a phone call from a farmer, said, "I'm out here, farming, and I see this nest," do you have a range that you'll go? And then do you take the eggs? Do you try to pick up the whole nest if you can? Do you have some sort of container that you try to put these eggs into?
So a lot of the farmers actually that I worked with last year, I had them put egg cartons in their cabs. And so then they hit a nest, they would jump out. Usually they'd see the hen flush, which makes it pretty easy to find the nest generally. But they would jump out, grab any intact eggs. Even if they're cracked, I can patch cracks a lot of the time, as long as the egg's not actively leaking, like if it's bleeding, like if it broke through the membrane. Anything that doesn't break through the membrane can be patched and usually make it. So I use a natural nail polish for that, which is kind of funny, but it actually works the best with anything I've tried. So yeah, that's what I use. And then they'll call me pretty much right away. The eggs can only be not sat on for a couple hours, depending on how far along they are. So yeah, it's kind of an urgent thing, to get to the eggs. It's hard for me to go real far at the moment just because, especially in the spring, sometimes I'll be driving the other direction and I'll get a call for birds this way. And it just makes things difficult. So I have a number of local volunteers actually that have volunteered to help transport eggs back and forth. So they'll maybe even go meet the farmer and then bring the eggs back to maybe somewhere closer where I can get them, type of thing, or even right to my house sometimes. The one farmer we know, he brought his whole thing right in town here, his whole cutter, and parked it right in our yard and walked the door. So that's pretty awesome. Funny. I was like, can we get a picture of this? So yeah, that was what he does. But a lot of the time I'll just drive out to the field and meet the farmers. So, and then they can keep working. Sometimes they'll even sit the eggs out under one of the swaths of hay and just kind of tell me where it is and I'll go grab them. So, sure. But the gull is you have to be careful with because if you don't get them right away, the gulls will move in pretty fast. So, you know.
I was going to ask you what the future was then, or if you were going to expand, or if this is, you're licensed, I suppose, in South Dakota and living, I don't know where you're at, but probably fairly close to Minnesota or some other states. Can you cross state lines to do this, or does it all have to be in South Dakota? And then, you know, are you going to hire some people, or just keep growing your volunteer, your network of volunteers?
So the federal permit, I actually can take birds from anywhere in the country, essentially. But obviously, I can't really go real far to get eggs. Minnesota, sometimes, if I can make it there, like the swan type of thing. But yeah, as far as game birds, those would be only in the state, obviously, because they're state managed. But I'd love to be able to ban the birds, kind of collect data on that. I would love to be able to rescue kind of almost all of the ducklings and eggs I possibly can in this region. I'm looking into like thermal drone type stuff. So, you know, maybe I could even fly the field ahead of time with a thermal drone and pick up the hens on the nests, you know, flag those, and then go and collect all the eggs right before the field's going to be hayed. Because then that would save, you know, the nesting hens, because they'd be bumped off the nest, as well as all of the eggs. Which I think if that works, that would be kind of an awesome method, because you know you could do tons of fields that way instead of just relying on the farmers to have to stop working, grab the eggs, make the phone call kind of thing, which a lot are willing to do, but you know, time is money. So I think if I can do something like that, I can't imagine any farmers not letting me do it. The one in California will drag the fields with like 2 4-wheelers with a chain in between, and they'll collect the eggs that way, which of course is a little more, you know, it just takes more time. If the drone works, the only question is if it's going to pick up, you know, the heat signature underneath the canopy cover of the hay kind of thing. I'll be testing it out this year a little bit.
Depending on the drone you get, I mean, if you've got a hen sitting on the nest, you should pick it up. You know, we filmed an episode of Prairie Sportsman where we tracked fawns with the thermal drone. And so I was sitting there with the drone operator and a couple other people, and we were watching the monitor. And also you'd see a heat signature, and then they'd switch to the regular camera to see what's throwing off that heat signature. And sometimes it'd be a fawn. One time it was a skunk. One time it was a pheasant walking around. You could actually see the heat signature like strutting as the pheasant was walking. It was pretty cool. But the skunk cracked us up. We did not expect to see the skunk there, and all of a sudden it lit up on the screen. So those drones are expensive. However, and I know you're looking for donations to continue to grow this business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, any donations help. You know, the pens, the feed, it all costs money. Last year, before I got the permit, you know, I didn't want to take any donations in, so I paid for pretty much everything up front. And I haven't even reimbursed myself for a lot of this stuff yet, just because, you know, it's something I really believe in and I want to see it succeed. So I'm kind of happy to volunteer my time and effort at the moment. But, I mean, if it gets big enough, hopefully it could even be like a full-time thing, at least in the summer. So, yeah, I'd love to expand a new property, you know, that would be bigger, might be helpful in the future. Just if I have, like, you know, a lot of pens, if I end up being able to do a building type of thing. Yeah, anything like that. And then, you know, if it works well, you know, if I can create kind of a successful model, I'd love to see it expand, you know, through the rest of the Prairie Powell region and maybe even all over the country, anywhere where it's, you know, it'd be helpful, where it's an issue.
I think it'd be kind of fun.
It's kind of the baby stages.
I'm getting an aviary. Yeah. We're going to do it here, Fish on Forever, egg rescue. We should mention that you're a nonprofit too. So if people are donating, it's tax deductible.
Yep, exactly.
And that was going to be my next question. You kind of already answered it, but you know, if somebody from Minnesota or, you know, North Dakota hears this and says, "Gosh, this is right up my alley. I want to do something like this." Would you help that person out?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. You know, and they could even they won't have to go through all the work of getting the federal permit, because I can do sub-permittees, which is what the California one does. But so they essentially have like 3 or 4 different hatcheries under their master permit, and kind of all throughout the state. And so they're licensed to do the same kind of thing under their permit. So I could do something like that, and I'm pretty sure it could be in other states even. So it could be something to look into. But yeah, and I could help with training and really all that kind of thing. So
that's great. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's an amazing story. Secondchanceflight.com is the website, and you're also on Facebook?
Yep, Second Chance Flight on Facebook, and then I also have an Instagram page. And I try and post on those frequently, but especially, during the summer when I keep ducklings and that kind of thing.
You're going to get a lot of support putting ducklings on social media, for sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. Madison Grimm. And then how about duck stamp contests? Both you and your dad still trying to win those?
Yeah. So my dad just won it just this past year here.
Oh, that's right.
He actually has to sit out for 3 years total. So I'm like, I got to hurry and try and win while you're sitting out. Otherwise, he might kick me out. So, yeah. But, last year was my first year entering, and that was really neat. It's just so cool to, be even in the mix with some of these amazing artists. I've grown up around them. I've kind of been involved, obviously, since I was like 6, especially with my dad, entering every year. And a lot of them are like family. And, yeah, it's just an honor to even be in the same contest.
That's pretty cool. All right. Well, Madison, I appreciate the time. Good luck with everything over there. David, let me know if you have another story before we go on the air.
Those are the two that I had.
That swan story got me in the documentary for sure. I mean, they're all pretty neat, but I did feel for that little guy. So when I think you said somebody else saw that swan on that pond, and when you released it, it was with other ones. Did it seem like it was still with the same group of swans?
Yeah, and hopefully it'll kind of get in with them, maybe even breed with one of them, migrate, that kind of thing. It was just such a neat bird because, it's such a visual thing. I mean, the ducklings are awesome, but, trumpeter swans with the issues, with, their populations, and it's just kind of cool to be able to help rescue one of them, even if some people don't like swans. I still like them. So
I think they're cool. Yeah. I mean, they're great. We're absolutely covered up in them right now. There's so many swans around. I mean, I remember growing up, I'm a little bit older than you are. I remember growing up and it was pretty rare to see one. And when you did see one, it had a neck collar on it. You're like, oh, that's pretty neat. And you'd see a pair. And then the next year, all of a sudden you'd see 4 of them. And then the next year you'd see 12 of them. And it was like, I watched that whole recovery. And of course we've had Carol Henderson in the story of trumpeter swans on Prairie Sportsman now a couple of times. So, I mean, the whole, what they did, bringing eggs back from Alaska, and there's 2 different populations of trumpeter swans. I think one was in Montana and one was in Alaska that they reintroduced into Minnesota, and one's a non-migrating what's the word? Species. One of them didn't migrate and one of them did. So I think that's also one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of these trumpeters leaving Minnesota in the winter. They stick around all year, and if they've got some food and a way to drink, they're not going to go anywhere. But if they're not wired to migrate. So we got a lot of them, but yeah. So they're. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've definitely advocated for a hunting season on them. But it's great. But that's my point. Even though us hunters like to go out there and shoot them, I think we all appreciate them. And that's part of one of the reasons why we like hunting them so much, just because of what they do, who they are, what they look like, where they live, where they fly to. I mean, the fact that some of these birds migrate so many, hundreds, thousands of miles, and what they do to survive on a yearly basis is amazing. And that's why we enjoy it so much. So we love hearing stories like this. So I think it's really cool what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I love the duck hunting, just being out in nature. A lot of people think I'm not interested in hunting of any kind because, I'm doing this work to rescue them now. But hunters are some of the best conservationists. They're the ones that want to, see them live on for their future generations to hunt and to experience. So hunting is some of my favorite memories. I love doing it. So especially going out with my family, who's all very interested in hunting. So
yeah, and that's what you'll hear from a lot of people. It's just fun being out there and seeing them. And honestly, waterfowl photography is one of my favorite things too. Is shooting them with the camera, just because birds in flight are tough pictures to take, and waterfowl have pretty neat colors. So, and it puts you in cool places at the same time. So, all right, you guys have anything else you wanted to ask or anything?
Nope.
All right. Madison Grimm, Second Chance Flight. Thanks for the time. Good luck with everything. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Thank you.
Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan your ice fishing trip today. We have over 60 lodging options with 30 full-service resorts featuring heated fish houses, ice transportation, meal plans, and sleeper house options. Fish from the famous Rainy River in the South Shore.
You never know what you're going to catch.
To the scenic Northwest Angle.
Here at the Northwest Angle.
Catch walleye, sauger, perch, sturgeon, eel pout, tulipy, northern pike, and more. Fish Minnesota's Lake of the Woods. Learn how at lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Welcome back to Fish Hunt Forever, the only podcast where a quick update turns into a 17-minute story about a guy who almost caught something in 2009.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen.
What is that garbage?
ChatGPT roasted us, and that was one of the things that they had to say. So
I don't get it.
All right, we're going to talk to Joe Henry right now from Lake of the Woods Tourism to find out what's going on up there on the big lake. Joe, and I know people are still ice fishing up there, but I'll tell you what, I got a shipment from Shields today with some jigs and some plastics and stuff. I mean, I rigged all my rods this weekend for the Rainy River. I know we're, 2.5, 3 weeks away, whatever it is, from the STR 500. I'm ready to go for spring, Joe.
Let's freaking go, hey? You are ready. You're a lot farther along than I am, I'll tell you that much.
I can't wait. Well, I haven't really, you had a sports show to go to. I just kind of sat home and rode the blizzard out this weekend. I didn't leave the house. I was like, what should I do? I should probably work. But you know what? I'm going to rig rods. I'm going to get stuff ready and order a bunch of stuff from Shields that was supposed to come Friday and came today, which I think is amazing. Every time. Always comes early. So I'm ready to go.
That's awesome.
Wait, it was supposed to come Friday, and it came today, and that late?
It's supposed to come this upcoming Friday.
Well, see, you should clarify that. You should use ChatGPT to tell you that story, I guess, because you didn't make it clear enough.
I figured out what he was talking about. What we're dealing
with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Yeah, Dan, complete lack of respect.
I couldn't understand those words from the 40s or whatever.
Wow, kids.
No. Doesn't even know what movie that is.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Yeah. He's never seen Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, I guess not. Needs to.
Fell asleep halfway through it.
So I was supposed to get stuff in 2 days from now, in the future, Dan.
Thanks.
And it came 2 days early.
Well, see, because you can understand why I'd be confused, because we had a snowstorm that would probably delay a bunch of things, so understandably.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I know I used that one last week, but it's still funny and still appropriate. All right, we should probably talk fishing a little bit and get back on topic. I think AI was right. ChatGPT was right. Completely off the rails already right away with Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism. So, Joe, you were saying off the air that, we've got some warm temps. David, you were saying that they're talking about 70s here Friday when I was supposed to get my Shields delivery.
64 now when I looked. It was 70 yesterday when I looked, but they dropped it back. But 70 this weekend, which is insane.
Crazy. Joe Harris from Blind Spot Outdoors down in Missouri, he messaged me this morning. He goes, go home drunk. Go home, Mother Nature, you're drunk. He goes, it was 14 degrees Monday. It's going to be 91 there on Saturday. Oof. 91. So be glad you don't live in Missouri, Joe.
Oh, man, I'll tell you. Especially this time of year, I don't know, man. The warm weather's coming, but I don't think we need 91. But we are getting warm weather, and I'll tell you, Mother Nature, even though we've had some chillier temps, like our ice up at Lake of the Woods is holding. We can, listeners probably know we can fish through March 31st, and actually that's when fish houses have to be off overnight. But we actually, a lot of years, we'll go later. We'll go into April. Some of our resorts will, and both for walleyes and for pike. And some of the best darn fishing's when you can get out there and it's really nice. You almost have to wear suntan lotion because the sun is strong and it's bouncing off the ice and the snow, and it's really reflecting in your face, which is probably very, very not used to the sun from a long time.
Oh, yeah. But, we've definitely gotten burned up there in the spring.
It's fun though, isn't it? I mean, isn't that neat when you're sitting out there when it's a nice day and you're out in the open and, the seagulls are coming back and, you see some migration happening.
That part I don't care for so much.
It's fun, and the fish are normally biting. You got the feed big on from the upcoming spawn and stuff. But no, I'll tell you, I think things are happening. I know there's some open water spots they're tracking east of Birchdale already, and And even though we've had, chillier temps, the days are getting longer, and that the strength of the sun right now, I just heard, is the same as in September. So it's still moving things along, even though the ground is still frozen and things are still moving. And, even with fish, fish, they go by temperature in some regards, but they're also going by length of days, and length of days is consistent. So, the length of days are consistent, I should say. And, so things are moving. And I think by the time, we normally pop open that Rainy River out by Birchdale at the end of March. And, we'll see. When you did a video with Paul Johnson of Riverbend out in front of, Riverbend Resort on the Rainy River, you drilled a hole, and I think there's only 14 inches. Is that correct?
Yeah, 14 and a half, which we were all pretty surprised about. Because I think normally it's 20, low 20s maybe. I don't know what the average would be on the Rainy, but I definitely expected there to be a little bit more there.
So when things happen, they can happen fast. And I still think that, we're probably looking at the end of the March for that, the first, 30 miles east of Bret is Birchdale, Nelson Park at Birchdale. That's the first one that pops open. And then as that open water line starts making its way to the west, and we follow it, with Lake of the Woods Tourism, we follow it daily. And when it starts going to the west, pretty soon it hits, Frontier, and now you got two accesses to divide the boat traffic between. And then pretty soon it's going to hit Vitus. And then pretty soon it hits Timber Mill Park in Bret, and then it makes its way down to Wheeler's Point, and right at the mouth of the river. So things will happen. Fish are going to be there, and between walleyes and sturgeon, we're expecting a really, really good spring.
I'm excited. I'm just pulling up the forecast for Bret here, and it's Saturday's only 37 up there. I was kind of surprised.
People are still, that ice is falling. I mean, for people that want to go up there ice fishing, there's still a great opportunity. We still have resorts that are renting fish houses, resorts are open, restaurants and bars. Not everyone is open, quite honestly. There's a few that said, hey, come mid-March, we've had a really, long season, but a good season, and we're just going to close mid-March, regardless. And but there's plenty of resorts that are open up there if you want to get up there and ice fish. Pike and walleye, sauger, jumbo perch, eel pout, the whole ball of wax is wide open. I heard some good fishing reports. Actually, some of the resorts are, depends on where they stage their houses, but some of them are out where they normally fish, and others have brought their fish houses closer to shore as we get closer to the thaw, and they're still catching some nice fish, some good numbers. I talked to somebody who said we got some really nice eaters and we got a couple of nice slots. I talked to somebody else that said we got a whole bunch of fish, but nothing was real, big. A lot of eaters for fish fry. So it just all depends on where you're at, and I suppose day to day too.
So I'm looking at the next few days. Actually looks pretty good. 46, 42, 37, 30, 38. And then it cools off just a little bit, but like I was telling Dan the other day, I plowed after that blizzard here in the driveway, and it was sunny. I felt actually pretty good ripping around. I was out on the wheeler for 2 hours plowing snow, and I was dressed warm, but it seemed pretty nice out. And I went inside for a little bit, and then I just ran back out quick without putting a jacket on, and I saw my breath right away, and I'm like, it's 14 degrees right now. It's actually pretty cold, but all that snow any snow that was still remaining in the driveway was melting so fast, and that's just the power of that sun. So even though that some of these overnight temps are still maybe in the teens or in the 20s, that sun is going to melt a lot of that snow. If there's any snow still on the ice, it's going to melt a lot of that, and it's going to do some work to that ice. And then of course you got that current underneath doing its job as well too. And then when you look at the end of March and beginning of April, and granted that's 2 weeks away, and things can change a lot between now and then, but we're talking mid-40s here at the end of the month, and I think I can't wait. I'm pretty excited about it. I think we'll be fine.
Well, we are going to be fine, and it just every year, give or take a few days here and there, and it's going to open up. Kind of interesting too, Bret. And you guys know you love the spring fishing on the Rainy River. It's kind of fun too, just thinking about the different techniques to use for walleyes up there. I mean, the traditional would be using a jig and a minnow or a jig and a plastic. And, I know some people that use frozen emerald shiners. I know some people that swear in using rainbows. I know some people that say, hey, when the water temperature is 40 degrees or less, use live bait. After 40, plastics work fantastic. I know that when we use plastics, it's the one time of the year, personally, that I like using those bigger ribbed plastics with either a paddle tail or a twister tail. And I usually use one of those beef fishing moxies on a nice jig, and you can pitch them, and work them back to the boat. You can vertical jig them, a lot of times I like trolling upstream very slowly with the trolling motor, and just going real slow, and you have your jig at about a 45-degree angle, and you let it thump against the bottom, you lift it up, you let it drop back on a controlled line, let it thump that bottom, and a lot of times next time you let her down, it only goes halfway, and your line twitches, and you set the hook, and you got a big walleye hanging, and it's just kind of neat. But the other thing anglers can do if you're not finding fish for some reason is you can troll cranks. So trolling a crankbait against the current is very effective. I'll tell you another technique, Bret, you and I used when we weren't getting them jigging too much. We put three-way rigs on, and we had about a 2 or a 3 ounce dropper off a three-way. When the second line going to a rod and reel, and the third line has a 6-foot piece of mono going to a shallow diving crankbait. And boy, you can pull that through 5 feet of water along shore to see if they're living up tight. You can drop down to a 22-foot hole. I mean, you get that sinker on there, so you can just follow the bottom with that. And that shallow diving crank will ride just above the bottom. But pulling that slowly against the current can be absolutely deadly for walleyes.
I feel like the last couple of years we've just kind of spot locked and vertical jigged, which to me I think is the most fun if you can make it work. And last year we had a pretty good year up there.
Yeah,
last
you could do it well. I think
sturgeon guys. Last year the sturgeon guys were catching more walleyes. It seemed like everybody was just anchored fishing for sturgeon, catching more walleyes than sturgeon.
Were they using night crawlers, or were they using night crawlers?
I think it was just on crawlers.
Just on crawlers, okay. Well, the other thing, I know you guys are really, part of your strategy is to spot lock near one of your buddies who has the Blackstone going. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Don't tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, that's when we look for a spot. A lot of times we're analyzing maps and checking side scan, and we're looking for a place to spot lock. It's next to the guy with the grill. It has nothing to do with bottom structure.
Now, is that because they've pre-fished and they got them dialed in, and you just go pull up next to them, or is that because you're actually pulling next to the grill?
I think so many times, I mean, obviously there's places that are better than others on that river to fish, but I think when you're dealing with fish that are moving a lot, there are, like I said, there are better spots than others, but sometimes I'm not sure how much it matters. If you're in their path and they're moving up and down that river, I think it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, you got to be in that highway, kind of an edge, that sort of thing. And I think the other thing to consider too is people hear about it gets so crowded up at the Rainy River, and when there's only one boat ramp open, it gets still crowded. You just have to know that going in, because the thing you got to realize is, hey, with that one boat ramp open, there's going to be a little bit of a wait. Just have patience. And just make sure that by the time you get to that boat ramp to drop your boat in, make sure that you've taken the straps off, put the plug in, you got all your tackle and everything you need inside your boat, and you're ready to drop it in. And, you drop the boat in usually with another person or two, and just make sure when you pull out, especially if it's cold, when you pull out, just pull a little ways and let that trailer drain back in the river just for a few seconds, so you're not putting all that water onto the boat ramp itself. And you go park, you might have to park a ways away. Some people bring a bike to actually bike back to the river to see their buddies in the boat. Oftentimes there's a local there that I think some of the local kids are probably multimillionaires, because they use those old pickup trucks and they ask for donations, and they're hauling people nonstop back and forth. But I got to tell you, firsthand experience, isn't it nice when they come by in that pickup truck and it saves you a mile walk? Oh, yeah. I got to remember to bring some cash with me this time. I think last year I was like, I have no money to give you. I apologize, but I appreciate the ride. Can I Venmo you?
Yeah.
I think I did Venmo somebody actually one year.
But. Well, and the other thing to consider too is when you're going to the Rainy River, it's always got to be safety first. That's number one. So even when you're going to an area and you start getting up to an area where you turn for the boat ramp, there could be some traffic there, and you're on Highway 11, and Highway 11 is 55 or 60 miles an hour, whatever it is, and you just got to be aware, because it's kind of an event kind of situation. There could be stopped traffic making that left turn, and then just be cognizant of the no parking signs. The locals there, they every year there's lots and lots of people around for that spring fishing season, and there's no parking signs up so that you don't park in their right away to a field and things like that. And I remember the one year the sheriff told me that he gave a ticket to 3 guys who parked right in front of a right away, blocking out for right away. And he's like, "Why would you guys do this?" He goes, "Oh, well, it's a lot closer. We just figured 3 of us would divide the ticket." Well, that's not very ethical. It's not very couth to the local landowners. So just, be polite, be considerate. Make sure that if you're a daredevil and you're going to be launching your boat off the ice before the boat ramp's open, make sure that you got a life jacket on. Make sure you're safe. If that boat ramp is slippery, normally they put some piles of sand and salt down there that you can sprinkle some of that on the boat ramp. Really, they really do a nice job managing those boat ramps. By the way, a big shout out to both Couchiching County and Lake of the Woods County. They planned for this. You got the DNR Fisheries, DNR Enforcement. You got the Highway Department, both counties. Everybody's working together to make this a very doable experience. Heck, Cooch County and Lake of the Woods County, for that matter, when they're able to, if there's ice blocking a boat ramp, they'll pull their boat, their backhoes down there, and they'll pop that open. We've also had resort owners at times, especially up at Wheeler's Point, where there's a little bit of ice in there, and I remember getting a video. Somebody had one of the resort owners had a rope around his waist, and he was out there drilling holes in the ice. We had 3 private people that had boats out there in the open water, and they were making big wakes to crack the ice. And then somebody else brings up a backhoe down, and somebody else has a chisel. I mean, everybody's working together to get these, these accesses open. And it's actually safer once they do, because that divides the traffic up. You don't have people trying to launch over ice. Just a good deal.
Well, it's just a testament to what kind of a fishery it is that people put in that kind of an effort, and we can't wait to be there. That's not playing. Okay, perfect. It's April 7th and 8th at the Rainy River. I'm just going to try to do this real quick.
And I heard a wild rumor that if you buy a Fish Hunt Forever cup, you're going to get reduced prices on bush lattes. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, so there it is right there. Dan's got his. We have the 2026 SGR 500 mug, and those are going to be on sale at Riverbend Resort for $30. And then you'll be able to fill them for $3.50. That's a 20-ounce mug that you'll be able to get 350 bush lights put into those things.
Okay, so how many bush lattes would somebody have to drink out of that cup to make that cup free?
10.
That's a lot of math.
9.
Well, let's just
8.
Let's just put it this way. Normally at a bar these days, a cheap 12-ounce beer, Busch Light, is $4. So you're getting 8 extra ounces for 50 cents less. Basically, you're getting paid 50 cents to get 8 ounces of more beer.
And that'll be good all 3 nights. So say 8 beers, whatever, over 3 nights.
8 beers times 50 cents is $4. Is that right?
Say that one more time. I wasn't listening.
This is coming from the 500th show, guys.
Fifth, yeah.
There we go. All right, April 7th and 8th. And Riverbend Resort also has a lodging special, too. Use the code SGR500. So their cabins, 4 people, $50 a night per person. So $200 between the 4 of you at Riverbend Resort. It's a heck of a deal. And you can call them and use the code or do it online. SGR500 is that code. For the SGR 500, presented by Ray's Sport and Marine, April 7th and 8th with the rules meeting. Monday, April 6th at Riverbend Resort. We'll do this podcast live Wednesday night after the tournament. And don't forget, if you, we're going to bring some hats up there and stuff to sell, Dan. We should bring some Fish Hunt Forever gear, I think.
I think that's a great idea.
And then we'll be selling some of that. So if you don't have Fish Hunt Forever gear, we'll sell some on site while it lasts. And then if you catch the tournament winning fish and we can read Fish Hunt Forever on your hat or on a hoodie or whatever, we'll give you an extra $150. And then if it's a state record fish, we'll give you an extra $150. So straight cash, homie, from Fish Hunt Forever.
Well, and I'll tell you what, a couple of things. You know what? You do not have to be present at the rules meeting to fish the tournament. If you want to register for the tournament, just go to the Fish Donkey app. And right in the Fish Donkey app, you can just search SJR 500. It'll pop up. You can pay your $40 that covers both days, and you're in. Simple as that. You could have 4 people in your boat, and you could have 3 of the 4 people wanting to fish and the 4th not wanting to fish it, and that'll work too.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's see what ChatGPT thought of this episode of the Fish Hunt Forever podcast.
This episode had everything. Missed hook sets, questionable opinions, and at least 3 moments where someone said, "We'll circle back to that," and absolutely did not.
I hate AI so much.
All right, Joe.
So dumb.
People want circling back. That's Dan's job, isn't it? Isn't Dan's job to make sure that we circle back?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll blame Dan.
I'll be the circle back guy. Well,
we'll circle back on
AI can.
David, I told you I would get a smile out of Danny today. I told you I would.
It came close to not happening because AI just ticks me off.
I had some people at the Sioux Falls show say, "Hey, I hear you on the radio all the time with those guys on the radio, and I said, I tell you what, that Danny, have you ever watched that actual recording? That Danny has a heck of a mustache, doesn't he? You're always talking about his mustache."
I think they're concerned for you with that statement.
Well, I'm trying to remember who it was, but somebody snapped me a picture of you two at the booth and said, "I'm here talking to the one and only Joe Henry." I don't remember who it was. So sorry.
We'll circle back to
it. Yeah. How was Sioux Falls?
Probably a barber.
A barber. Yeah, probably. How was Sioux Falls real quick, and then we'll cut you loose here, Joe.
Yeah. No, Sioux Falls was great. So many great people. Had a booth. It was really busy for the most part. Sunday we had a lot of snow and wind and stuff. So Sunday was pretty quiet. We knew it would. But the other 3 days were great. It was a good show, and I gave seminars each day alongside Nick Linder, and it was fun hanging out with Nick, and just a lot of super great people there. A lot of veterans that came through that have been to our veterans event, our paid forward veterans event, and just really a good crowd, Bret. Honestly. Love Sioux Falls. Good people. Had a chance to hang out with Brian Bashore. He came and sat with me at the booth a little bit, and he's of course a pro angler who's a guide and fishes the National Walleye Tour. He kind of shared some new things happening with NWT this year, and pretty exciting. Just a good vibe, man. Everybody's ready to roll. The river's been open. The Missouri River's been open a little bit. It's been iced up. It's been open. A lot of people go to the river out there if they're not coming to Lake of the Woods or other bodies of water. But you know what? Things are happening, no doubt.
That's awesome. And then you had to deal with the weather a little bit.
Yeah, I did. And I'm normally a guy that come heck or high water, I come back home and get out of there on Sunday night. And there was a Christian concert on Sunday night in Sioux Falls, and of the 2 tour buses, one of them slid in the ditch, and there was a Division II NCAA Division II wrestling tournament at our hotel in Sioux Falls, and a lot of people that tried leaving on Sunday weren't able to get out. Planes hadn't made it there, and I just roads were canceled or closed, and it was just windy. It was really high winds, snow, and that whole event came across that whole southern part of southern and central Minnesota. So I decided to, I don't know if I'm getting soft or what, but everybody I talked to was staying another night and saying don't drive. So I didn't drive. So I got a bit.
That's getting smart.
Yeah, maybe it's just a little bit of wisdom. I got up real early on Monday morning and took off, and actually the roads are really good, so it was good.
Well, nothing wrong with that. I mean, this is coming from a guy who did total his truck on the interstate last year in a little bit of a weather event. So,
but it was slippery that day. There were a lot of, out of fairness to you, there were a lot of trucks in the ditch.
Everybody went into the ditch that night. Yeah, it wasn't just me, for sure. So but that will make you say, you know what? Instead of having to have an insurance claim on a brand new pickup, I think we're just going to get a hotel room for one more night. And I think that's a pretty good trade-off. So
that's why we have the Fundra 2.0. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. All right, Joe, if people want to come up to the Rainy River this spring or make a trip to Lake of the Woods at any time of the year, what should they do for more info?
Everything's on our website. That is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Thanks for listening to the Fish Hunt Forever show. Download the Fish Hunt Forever podcast wherever you get podcasts or watch on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. If you like today's show, please give us a 5-star review. Find past shows, articles, news about regulations, and more at fishhuntforever.com.